Listen carefully, my dear one. I have an urgent and sacred message to deliver today, and this message is not for everyone. This is only for God's chosen ones. If you are not walking the divine path, if your heart is not aligned with God, then this message is not meant for you. You may leave now. But if you are a true follower of God, if you have felt separated, tested, refined, and called for something higher, then stay with me. This message has reached you at the exact moment it was meant to. Not early, not late, right on time. Chosen one, you did not come across this message by accident. You have just passed the final test, even if you didn't realize it while it was happening. And God's reaction to what you endured, to how you carried yourself, to how you stayed standing when everything tried to break you, it will truly stun you. Heaven has already responded, even if earth hasn't caught up yet. Stay with me until the very end, because before this message is over, something will settle in your spirit. Something you have been questioning for a long time will finally make sense. Before we continue, chosen ones, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, tap the bell icon, and share this message with other chosen ones who need this confirmation. The nature of the final test. Let me speak to you plainly now, because clarity brings peace, and peace brings strength. The final test was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to reveal you. And many people misunderstand this part of the journey. They think every hardship is punishment, every delay is rejection, every closed door is God turning his face away. That is not how it works for the chosen ones. The final test is not about how much you pray, how many scriptures you quote, or how spiritual you sound. It is about who you become when no one is watching, when heaven is silent, and when your heart feels tired. God does not test you to see if you will succeed. He already knows your potential. The test exists to see if you will remain aligned when everything around you tempts you to become someone you are not. This test did not arrive with a warning label. It came disguised as ordinary life, but heavier. It looked like prolonged waiting. It felt like unanswered prayers. It sounded like silence where guidance used to be. Many of you went through seasons where you asked yourself, did I do something wrong? Or, why does it seem easier for everyone else? That confusion was part of the test, not to confuse your spirit, but to refine your discernment. For the chosen one, the final test is often emotional and internal. God already knows you can survive pressure. He already knows you are strong, so he tests something deeper. He tests your patience when progress slows. He tests your humility when recognition is withheld. He tests your faith when results are delayed. And most importantly, he tests your heart when you are treated unfairly. Some of you were misunderstood on purpose, not because God wanted you to suffer, but because he needed to see if you would defend your ego or protect your spirit. Some of you were isolated, not because you were rejected, but because certain connections could not follow you into the next season. Isolation is not abandonment. For the chosen one, it is alignment. The final test also revealed itself through temptation. Temptation to give up. Temptation to compromise your values. Temptation to speak when silence was wiser. Temptation to react instead of respond. Temptation to return to old habits because progress felt too slow. And here is what you must understand clearly. The test was not about perfection. It was about direction. God was watching which way you leaned when the pressure increased. Many of you passed the test without applause. You kept showing up even when motivation was gone. You stayed kind even when bitterness had every reason to take root. You chose restraint when retaliation would have felt justified. You held your integrity when shortcuts were available, and you did this quietly. No audience, no reward, just obedience. The final test also involved disappointment. People you trusted let you down. Systems you relied on failed you. Plans you prayed over fell apart. This was not coincidence. God was slowly removing every external support so that your faith would rest on Him alone. That kind of faith cannot be taught. It must be experienced. And let me tell you something important, something many need to hear today. Feeling tired did not mean you were failing the test. Feeling discouraged did not mean you were weak. Even questioning did not disqualify you. What mattered was that you did not quit on God, even when you felt unsure about yourself. The test was not measuring your emotions, it was measuring your commitment. Some of you cried in private, but stood firm in public. Some of you lost your confidence, but never lost your character. Some of you felt forgotten, yet you still chose to believe that God was working behind the scenes. That is the nature of the final test. It strips away comfort so that conviction can rise. This test also taught you discernment. You began to see people differently. Conversations felt shallow. Certain environments no longer felt safe for your spirit. You outgrew places you once begged to belong. That discomfort was not pride. It was growth. God was sharpening your spiritual senses so you could no longer be easily distracted or deceived. The final test is quiet. It does not announce itself. There is no countdown, no dramatic moment where you know it is ending. One day, you simply realize that the storm no longer controls you. The pain no longer defines you. The waiting no longer angers you. That is when the test has already been passed. If you are listening to this and your spirit feels seen, then understand this clearly. You were not being punished. You were being prepared. God was not withholding from you. He was strengthening you. And the very fact that you endured without losing yourself is the evidence that the test has done its work. You are still here, still standing, still aligned. And that alone tells me everything I need to know. And there is another layer to this final test that many chosen ones only understand after they have walked through it. This test was also about identity. God was watching to see if you would cling to who He called you to be, or if you would let circumstances rename you. When life started labeling you as behind, overlooked, rejected, or unsuccessful, the test was whether you would accept those labels or quietly reject them in your spirit. Some of you were placed in situations where your value was questioned, your loyalty was tested, your intentions were doubted. And instead of fighting to prove yourself, you chose to let God be your defense. That choice was not weakness, that was maturity. The final test often asks you to surrender the need to be understood so you can step fully into who God understands you to be. This test also touched your patience in ways you never expected. You learned that waiting is not passive. Waiting is active trust. Waiting is waking up every day and choosing hope even when yesterday looked the same. Waiting is continuing to prepare for a future that has not yet shown its face. Many gave up during this stage. You did not. Even when you were exhausted, you kept your heart open. That mattered more than you know. God was also observing how you handled success that did not come. That may sound strange, but it is true. When things did not move, when doors stayed closed longer than expected, the question was simple. Would you become resentful, or would you remain rooted? Would you compare your journey to others, or would you trust that your timing was intentional? Comparison is one of the most subtle traps in the final test, and many fall into it without realizing. You resisted it more than you think. The final test refined your self-control. You learned when to speak and when to stay silent. You learned that not every battle deserves your energy. You learned that peace is not weakness, and walking away is sometimes the greatest sign of strength. These lessons were not random. They were necessary for where God is taking you next. And let me say this clearly, because it brings closure. The final test does not end when everything improves. It ends when you improve, when your reactions change, when your spirit becomes steadier, when you stop asking, "When will this be over?" and start saying, "I trust you anyway." That shift is the finish line. So if you have felt stretched, refined, emptied, and rebuilt all at once, understand this. You are not breaking down. You are being calibrated. God was adjusting you for a higher assignment. And the fact that you are still listening, still seeking, still open, is proof that the final test did not defeat you. It completed you. Why God had to be silent. Now let me address the part that hurt the most, the part many of you still struggle to understand. God's silence. This is where the test felt unbearable. This is where doubts whispered louder. This is where nights felt longer and prayers felt heavier. And I want you to hear this slowly and clearly, because misunderstanding this season can wound the soul. God was silent on purpose. Silence does not mean absence. Silence does not mean rejection. And silence never means abandonment. For the chosen one, silence is a sacred space where trust is no longer supported by reassurance. It is where faith must stand on its own legs. God speaks often in the beginning because guidance is necessary when you are learning. But there comes a point when constant instruction would weaken you rather than strengthen you. God had to be silent because he was watching what you would do without constant confirmation. He was watching whether you would still walk upright when no one was applauding your obedience. He was watching whether your faith was rooted in relationship or reward. Silence reveals motives faster than noise ever could. Many of you kept asking, why did God stop speaking? But the deeper question was, can you still trust me when I do? Silence tests trust in its purest form. Anyone can believe when miracles are visible. Anyone can stay faithful when blessings are obvious. But chosen ones are built in the quiet, where belief is no longer fed by evidence. God's silence was also protection. If he had spoken too early, you might have moved too fast. If he had answered immediately, you might have bypassed growth. Some instructions are withheld not because you are unworthy, but because you are not finished becoming who can carry them. God knew that premature clarity would create premature movement, and movement without maturity creates destruction. In silence, God allows you to discover your own spiritual footing. You learn discernment instead of dependency. You learn to listen inwardly instead of externally. You learn to sit with God rather than rush past him. Silence forces you to develop spiritual muscles that constant reassurance would never allow to grow. There is also something else few people talk about. God was silent because certain voices had to be removed first. Some of you were surrounded by too many opinions, too many influences, too many emotional attachments. God does not compete for attention. When he goes silent, it is often because he is waiting for you to quiet everything else. Silence is an invitation to separation. And yes, silence was uncomfortable. It exposed wounds you did not want to look at. It brought unresolved fears to the surface. It forced you to sit with questions you used to drown out with activity. But healing does not happen in distraction. It happens in stillness. God was doing deep internal work while you were asking for external change. Let me say this gently because it brings relief to many hearts. God was not ignoring your prayers. He was listening very closely. But sometimes the answer to prayer is not words. Sometimes the answer is endurance. Sometimes the answer is transformation. Sometimes the answer is silence itself, because silence produces something speech never could. God was also teaching you restraint. Not every emotion needs expression. Not every thought needs a voice. Not every hurt needs a reaction. Silence taught you to pause, to breathe, to choose wisdom over impulse. These lessons are essential for chosen ones because authority without restraint becomes chaos. Some of you felt tempted to walk away during God's silence. That temptation was part of the test. Would you stay even when God felt distant? Would you remain loyal when faith no longer felt rewarding? And here is the truth. Loyalty proven in silence carries more weight in heaven than obedience shown in comfort. God's silence also shifted your identity. You stopped defining yourself by what you received from God and started defining yourself by who you were with God. That shift is profound. It turns faith from transaction into relationship, from expectation into trust, from demand into surrender. You may not realize this yet, but God trusted you enough to be silent with you. He does not go silent with everyone. Silence is reserved for those strong enough to endure it, for those mature enough not to mistake it for abandonment, for those called to lead without constant instruction. And notice this carefully. During the silence, you did not fall apart. You felt shaken, yes. You felt unsure, yes. But you did not lose your moral compass. You did not lose your values. You did not become who your pain tried to shape you into. That is not accidental. That is evidence. Silence revealed your foundation. When everything else was stripped away, what remained was character. And character is what God builds kingdoms on. God was also allowing time for alignment beyond your awareness. While you were questioning, He was rearranging. While you were waiting, He was removing obstacles you could not see. While you were feeling still, He was moving things behind the scenes. Silence does not mean inactivity in the spiritual realm. It often means the work is too complex to explain prematurely. If God had spoken during that time, you might have misunderstood the process. You might have interfered. You might have tried to control what required surrender. Silence protected the process. And here is the part that often brings peace when it finally settles in the heart. God was silent because He already trusted you. He trusted the work He had done in you. He trusted your discernment. He trusted your values. He trusted your growth. Silence was not neglect. It was confidence. Think of a teacher during an exam. They do not guide you through every question. They step back, not because they stopped caring, but because they believe you are ready. That silence does not mean failure is expected. It means competence is assumed. God's silence was the exam room of your faith. And you stayed. You stayed when reassurance was gone. You stayed when feelings faded. You stayed when clarity was delayed. That is why the silence ended not with condemnation, but with approval. So if you are still carrying pain from that season, let it rest now. God did not go quiet because you were failing. He went quiet because you were being trusted. And that changes everything. And let me take you one layer deeper, because this understanding brings real healing. God's silence was also teaching you how to hear Him differently. Before, you may have relied on signs, feelings, emotions, or immediate clarity. But silence retrains the spirit. It sharpens inner knowing. It teaches you to recognize God not only in words, but in peace, in restraint, in conviction, and in timing. During that quiet season, you learn to move without constant emotional confirmation. You learn to obey even when you did not feel inspired. That is a higher level of faith. Feelings come and go. Conviction remains. God was shifting you from emotional faith to anchored faith. From needing to feel Him to trusting that He is with you even when you do not. Silence also exposed distractions you once tolerated. Things that felt normal before suddenly felt heavy. Conversations drained you. Environments disturbed your peace. That was not you becoming distant or cold. That was discernment growing. God was refining your sensitivity so you could no longer ignore what disrupts your spirit. Silence clears spiritual noise. And here is something very important. God was silent so you would stop negotiating with Him. Some prayers are not meant to be debated. Some assignments are not meant to be delayed. In silence, bargaining ends and surrender begins. You stopped asking God to explain Himself, and you started aligning yourself instead. That alignment is power. You may have felt like you were walking blind, but you were actually walking by trust, step by step, day by day, without applause, without reassurance. And yet, you did not turn back. That kind of faith does not shout. It stands. So when you look back at that season and remember how quiet it felt, remember this instead. God was not distant. He was close enough to trust you with silence. And not everyone is trusted like that. What you did right without realizing it. Now listen to me carefully, because this is where many chosen ones underestimate themselves. You keep replaying what you think you did wrong. You keep questioning your delays, your emotions, your moments of weakness. But you are missing something very important. You passed the test not because you were flawless, but because of what you did right, often without even knowing it mattered. First, you stayed when leaving would have been easier. That alone speaks volumes. Many people walk away from God when things stop making sense. They leave when prayers feel unanswered. They detach when faith stops feeling rewarding. You did not. Even when you felt tired, even when you questioned quietly, even when you felt emotionally drained, you stayed connected. You may not have felt strong, but you were faithful. And faithfulness carries more weight than enthusiasm. You also learned restraint. This is something heaven takes very seriously. You were provoked, misunderstood, sometimes even disrespected. You had opportunities to defend yourself, to explain, to correct narratives, to prove your worth. And yet, more often than not, you chose silence. Not because you were afraid, but because something in you matured. You realized that not every battle deserves your voice. That was wisdom forming in real time. You also resisted becoming bitter. And do not take this lightly. Bitterness is one of the most dangerous traps for chosen ones. It slowly poisons purpose while pretending to protect the heart. You felt disappointment. You felt hurt. You felt let down. But you did not let those emotions harden you. You did not allow pain to turn into cruelty. You kept your heart soft in a season that could have easily made you cold. That is rare. Another thing you did right was honoring God even when you did not understand Him. That kind of honor is not loud. It does not announce itself. It looks like continuing to do the right thing when shortcuts are available. It looks like maintaining integrity when no one is watching. It looks like choosing patience when impatience feels justified. You honored God quietly, and quiet honor is powerful. You also learned how to wait without wasting the wait. Even though it felt slow, you were being prepared internally. Your thinking changed. Your priorities shifted. Your tolerance for nonsense decreased. Your desire for peace increased. These changes did not happen overnight, but they happened consistently. Waiting did not make you stagnant. It refined you. And let me tell you something many people miss. You learned how to trust God without emotional reassurance. That is a major spiritual milestone. You did not always feel peace. You did not always feel joy. Sometimes you felt nothing at all. Yet you continued to choose alignment. You chose values over feelings. You chose conviction over comfort. That decision separates mature faith from shallow belief. You also stopped chasing validation. There was a time when approval mattered more, when recognition felt necessary, when being seen felt important. But during this test, something shifted. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped proving yourself. You stopped begging to be understood. That was not defeat. That was growth. God does not elevate those who need applause to stay obedient. Another thing you did right was protecting your spirit. You walked away from conversations that drained you. You distanced yourself from environments that disrupted your peace. You stopped sharing everything with everyone. That was not isolation. That was discernment. Chosen ones must learn when to withdraw, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You also endured disappointment without losing hope. That may not sound dramatic, but it is extraordinary. Hope is easy when progress is visible. Hope is difficult when days look the same. Yet you kept believing that something was still working behind the scenes. Even when doubt whispered, hope stayed alive. That quiet hope mattered. And yes, there were moments you felt weak, moments you questioned yourself, moments you wondered if you misheard God. Those moments did not disqualify you. They humanized you. God was not testing whether you would feel doubt. He was testing whether doubt would control you. It did not. You also learned humility in ways you did not expect. Success did not come when you thought it would. Recognition did not arrive on your schedule, and instead of becoming arrogant or resentful, you became grounded. You learned that timing is not a reflection of worth. That lesson alone will protect you in the next season. Let me say this clearly, because many need to hear it. You did not pass the test by being perfect. You passed it by being consistent. You showed up with the same values even when circumstances changed. You remained aligned even when emotions fluctuated. You stayed rooted even when outcomes were delayed. God noticed that. He noticed how you treated people who could no longer benefit you. He noticed how you spoke when you were frustrated. He noticed how you handled disappointment. He noticed the choices you made when no one was affirming you. Heaven keeps record of quiet obedience. You may feel like you barely made it through, but from a spiritual perspective, you were steady, you were reliable, you were trustworthy. And that is why the test ended not with punishment, but with approval. So stop diminishing what you survived, stop minimizing what you endured, stop questioning whether you did enough. You did more than enough by staying true to who God shaped you to be. And the most important thing you did right is this: you did not lose yourself. Not to pain, not to pressure, not to delay, not to disappointment. You came out refined, not corrupted, softer, not bitter, wiser, not hardened. That tells me everything, and it tells God even more. And there is still more you did right that you may have completely overlooked, because it happened internally, quietly, without drama. You learned how to sit with discomfort without running from it. In earlier seasons, you might have rushed to fix things, distract yourself, or escape difficult emotions. But during this test, you stayed present. You allowed yourself to feel, to reflect, to grow. That level of emotional honesty is rare, and it is necessary for the calling you carry. You also learned to forgive without receiving an apology. That alone tells me your spirit matured. Forgiveness is not about excusing what hurt you. It is about refusing to let pain control your future. You released people who never acknowledged the damage they caused, not because they deserved it, but because your peace mattered more. God honors that kind of release. You also stopped forcing outcomes. This is important. There was a time when you tried to make things happen, to push doors open, to control timing. During the test, you learned the strength of surrender. You stopped chasing what was not aligned. You stopped begging what was meant to come freely. You trusted that what is truly yours does not require desperation. That shift alone saved you from unnecessary battles. Another thing you did right was learning discernment in relationships. You stopped overgiving. You stopped explaining yourself to people who were committed to misunderstanding you. You stopped pouring into places that could not hold you. That was not selfishness. That was stewardship of your energy. Chosen ones cannot afford emotional leaks. You also developed endurance without hardening your heart. Many people become strong by becoming closed. You became strong while staying open. You did not let pain turn you into someone unrecognizable. You allowed wisdom to grow without killing compassion. That balance is not common. It is cultivated through testing. And let me remind you of something powerful. You kept your faith private when it needed to be private. You did not perform spirituality for approval. You prayed quietly. You trusted silently. You cried where only God could see. That kind of faith is not fragile. It is anchored. You also learned how to listen more than you speak. You became observant. You noticed patterns. You saw intentions behind words. You stopped reacting immediately and started responding intentionally. That emotional intelligence did not come from comfort. It came from refinement. Most importantly, you learned that your worth is not tied to outcomes. That lesson alone changes everything. You realized that even when things did not work out, you were still valuable, still chosen, still held. That understanding will keep you steady when blessings come, because it will prevent pride, and it will keep you grounded in gratitude. So when you look back at this season, do not label it as loss. Label it as formation. You are being shaped into someone who can carry peace, authority, and responsibility at the same time. Someone who does not need chaos to feel alive. Someone who does not need approval to stay obedient. You passed the test because you became someone different without losing your soul. And that is exactly what God was looking for. God's reaction. The part that will stun you. Now this is where everything shifts. This is where many chosen ones expect correction, disappointment, or delay. But what I am about to tell you may challenge what you assumed about God's response to your season of struggle. God's reaction to you passing the final test is not anger, it is not frustration, it is not disappointment. God's reaction is approval, and not the kind that comes with loud celebration or immediate reward. It is a deep, settled approval, the kind that says, "I can trust you now." That is what stuns people. God is not standing over you shaking his head. He is standing beside you with confidence in what he has built within you. You see, God is not impressed by talent alone. Talent can be given, skill can be taught, opportunity can be created, but character must be formed. And character is what God was watching this entire time. When you did not collapse under pressure, when you did not abandon your values, when you did not let bitterness take root. God took note. He saw you when no one else did. He saw the nights you questioned quietly. He saw the days you showed up without strength. He saw the moments you chose peace when chaos was available. And heaven responded long before you noticed anything change on earth. Here is what many do not understand. God's reaction often happens before visible results appear. Heaven moves first. Alignment happens first. Authority is granted first. Manifestation comes last. Just because you have not seen immediate change does not mean nothing happened. It means something happened in the unseen realm that must now unfold in time. God's reaction was also relief, not because he doubted you, but because the process worked. The refinement produced exactly what it was meant to produce. You did not break. You did not lose yourself. You did not abandon your path. That confirmed something important to God. You are ready for greater responsibility. And let me tell you something that will settle your heart. God is not in a hurry to reward you the way humans are. He is precise. He is intentional. He releases blessings when the vessel is ready, not when the desire is loudest. And right now, God is preparing the release in a way that will not overwhelm you or corrupt you. God's reaction also includes repositioning. Some doors closed quietly. Some people drifted away naturally. Some opportunities dissolved without explanation. That was not loss. That was divine adjustment. God was clearing space, making room, removing distractions that could interfere with what comes next. Another part of God's reaction is trust. He trusts your judgment more now. He trusts your discernment. He trusts your restraint. That is why you may feel less anxious even before things change. Peace is often the first sign of approval. Chaos fades when authority settles. God is also protecting you differently now. Attacks that once shook you no longer land the same way. Criticism does not cut as deep. Delays no longer provoke panic. That is not because life became easier. It is because your foundation became stronger. God's reaction included strengthening your inner world so external circumstances have less power over you. And yes, blessings are part of God's reaction, but they are not always obvious at first. Sometimes the blessing is clarity. Sometimes it is peace. Sometimes it is confidence without arrogance. Sometimes it is knowing when to move and when to wait. These blessings may not impress others, but they will preserve you. Let me be clear about something. God is not testing you anymore the way he was before. That season has ended. This does not mean life will be perfect, but it does mean the pressure has shifted. You are no longer being refined. You are being trusted, and trust changes everything. When God trusts you, he allows you more freedom. He allows you to move without constant correction. He allows you to make decisions with confidence. He allows you to lead without fear. That is why some of you feel a quiet authority rising within you. That is not ego, that is alignment. God's reaction also includes timing acceleration. What took long before may now move faster. Doors that resisted may now open effortlessly. Conversations that stalled may now flow naturally. Do not be surprised if things begin aligning without force. That is a sign the resistance has been removed. But let me caution you gently here. God's approval does not mean complacency. It means responsibility. The same character that carried you through the test must carry you through the blessing. The same humility that kept you grounded in silence must keep you grounded in movement. God is pleased with you, but He is also inviting you to stay aware. Pride ruins what obedience builds. Stay teachable, stay anchored, stay aligned. And if you are wondering why you have not felt overwhelming excitement yet, let me explain. Mature blessings often arrive quietly. They settle into your life instead of shaking it. They feel stable instead of dramatic. That is because God is building something sustainable, not temporary. God's reaction is not a moment, it is a posture. He is postured toward you with confidence, with trust, with approval, and that is far more powerful than applause. So if you are waiting for thunder and fireworks, let that expectation go. The real miracle already happened. You became someone who can carry what is coming without losing yourself. That is what stunned heaven, and that is why what comes next will feel different. And there is one more truth about God's reaction that needs to settle deep in your spirit, because it changes how you move forward. God is not reacting to you as someone who barely survived. He is responding to you as someone who proved stability under pressure. That distinction matters. Survivors are protected, stewards are entrusted, and you have moved into a place of trust. God's reaction includes elevation that is internal before it is external. Before positions change, perception changes. Before circumstances shift, confidence settles. You may notice that you no longer chase urgency the way you used to. You are not rushing. You are not anxious. You are not desperate for outcomes. That calm is not complacency. It is authority. God has anchored you so you can move with clarity instead of fear. Another part of God's reaction is strategic silence lifting. Where things felt blocked before, insight begins to return, not necessarily loud instructions, but gentle clarity. You begin to know when to act and when to wait without needing validation. That inner alignment is God saying, "I trust your discernment now." You may also notice that resistance from others increases even as peace increases within you. That is not coincidence. When God approves you, your presence changes. It exposes insecurity in others. It challenges systems built on fear. That is why some people may react to you differently now. Stay grounded. Do not absorb what is not yours to carry. God's reaction also includes divine restraint. He will not allow you to step into environments that would drain you. If something falls apart now, it is not punishment, it is protection. God is guarding your energy, your focus, and your peace more intentionally because what you carry now requires preservation. And yes, tangible blessings are coming, but they will arrive in alignment with your capacity to manage them. God does not overwhelm His trusted ones. He equips them gradually, wisely, and intentionally. What comes next will not cost you your peace. It will add to it. One of the most stunning parts of God's reaction is this. He is no longer proving anything to you. He is no longer asking you to endure to show your faith. That season is complete. Now, He invites you to walk with Him, not chase Him. To move from proving to partnering, from surviving to stewarding. That shift may feel subtle, but it is profound. You are no longer asking, "Am I enough?" You are beginning to say, "I am ready." And readiness is recognized in heaven. So do not rush, do not announce, do not explain, just stay aligned. What God approves, He sustains. And what He sustains, nothing can prematurely remove. This is not the end of your journey. It is the end of unnecessary pressure and the beginning of purposeful movement. God saw you, God trusted you, God approved you, and that approval is already shaping what comes next. What changes now? Life after the final test. Now let me guide you gently into this next understanding, because many chosen ones feel disoriented after the final test ends. They expect fireworks, they expect instant transformation. But what actually happens is far more powerful and far more stable. Life after the final test does not explode, it settles. The first thing that changes is internal. Your nervous system begins to calm. You are no longer in constant survival mode. You may notice that situations which once triggered anxiety no longer have the same effect. Delays do not shake you the way they used to. Silence does not scare you anymore. You are not constantly scanning for signs of danger or rejection. That is because your spirit finally understands something it could not before. You are safe in God. After the final test, your relationship with time changes. You stop rushing outcomes. You stop panicking about delays. You understand deeply now that what is meant for you cannot miss you. This does not make you passive. It makes you precise. You begin to move with intention rather than urgency. You wait without anxiety. You act without fear. That balance is rare, and it only comes after refinement. Your discernment sharpens in ways you cannot ignore. You no longer need long explanations to sense when something is off. Your spirit recognizes misalignment quickly. This does not make you judgmental. It makes you aware. You start choosing peace over proximity. You understand that access to you is earned, not assumed. This is not isolation. This is stewardship. Another change is how you handle relationships. You no longer overextend yourself emotionally. You do not chase connection the way you once did. You allow relationships to reveal themselves naturally. If someone drifts, you let them. If someone stays, you appreciate them. You stop forcing bonds that God is clearly loosening. This emotional maturity protects your energy and preserves your peace. You may also notice a shift in how people respond to you. Some will be drawn to your calm, others may feel uncomfortable around you. That is not something to fix. Your presence has changed. When God settles authority in a person, it creates contrast. Those aligned will feel safe. Those misaligned may feel exposed. Stay neutral, stay kind, stay grounded. Life after the final test also brings clarity in purpose. Not necessarily all at once, but in layers. You begin to see why certain doors never opened, why certain paths fell apart, why certain delays were necessary. This clarity does not come with regret. It comes with gratitude. You realize how much trouble you were spared, how much confusion was avoided. That awareness deepens trust. Your prayer life changes too. You pray less out of desperation and more out of alignment. You are no longer asking God to fix everything. You are asking Him to guide your steps. Your prayers become quieter but stronger, less emotional, more intentional. That is not loss of passion. That is maturity. Another change is how you handle opposition. You no longer react immediately. You observe first. You respond with wisdom rather than impulse. You understand that not every challenge requires confrontation. Sometimes the greatest authority is demonstrated through restraint. This does not mean you tolerate disrespect. It means you choose your battles carefully. You may also experience moments of stillness that feel unfamiliar. This is important. After long seasons of pressure, peace can feel strange. Do not confuse peace with stagnation. Rest is part of alignment. God is teaching you that you do not have to suffer to be progressing. Growth can happen in calm. Your sense of self becomes steadier. You are not easily swayed by opinions. Compliments do not inflate you. Criticism does not crush you. You know who you are now. That knowing is quiet but unshakable. It does not need validation. It simply exists. Life after the final test also requires new boundaries. You will need to protect what God has refined. Overexposure will drain you. Over-explaining will weaken you. Learn to move quietly. Let results speak. Let peace lead. This is how chosen ones preserve longevity. And let me prepare you for something many do not expect. After the test, opportunities may come that look good but feel wrong. Do not panic. Discernment increases because responsibility increases. Not everything that opens is meant for you. Choose alignment over appearance. You may feel a pull towards simplicity, fewer distractions, fewer obligations, more intention. That is not withdrawal. That is focus. God often simplifies before He expands. He reduces noise so clarity can lead. Life does not become perfect after the final test. Challenges still come, but they come differently. They no longer define you. They no longer destabilize you. They become manageable because you are no longer fighting from insecurity. You are moving from stability. And perhaps the most important change of all is this. You stop questioning your worth. You stop asking if you are chosen. You stop doubting whether God is with you. That question dissolves. In its place is quiet assurance. You are not waiting for life to begin anymore. You are living from alignment. That is life after the final test. And now you are ready for what comes next. And there is another shift that deserves your attention because it explains why this season feels unfamiliar in subtle ways. After the final test, your tolerance for chaos decreases. Things that once felt normal now feel heavy. Noise feels unnecessary. Drama feels exhausting. You are not becoming distant from life. You are becoming anchored in peace. Your spirit has tasted stability, and it no longer wants to negotiate with disorder. You may notice that your intuition speaks louder than your logic now. You sense when to move before reasons appear. You feel when to pause without needing explanation. That inner guidance is not imagination, it is alignment. God is teaching you to trust what He has already placed within you. This is how chosen ones move with precision rather than panic. Another important change is how you relate to uncertainty. Before, not knowing may have created anxiety. Now, uncertainty does not disturb you as much. You trust the process more than the timeline. You understand that clarity unfolds in steps, not all at once. That patience protects you from rushing into things that are not ready. You may also feel a strong pull to simplify your commitments. You no longer want to be everywhere. You want to be intentional. This is not laziness. It is wisdom. Energy is a resource, and you have learned how valuable yours is. God is teaching you to invest it where it multiplies, not where it leaks. After the final test, you also become more selective with your words. You do not share plans prematurely. You do not announce movements before alignment. You understand the power of quiet preparation. Silence now feels like strength, not fear. This protects what is growing. And let me reassure you of this. If you feel moments of restlessness even in peace, do not misinterpret them. That restlessness is not dissatisfaction. It is readiness. Something within you knows movement is coming, but it is waiting for the right signal. Do not force it. Stay present. Life after the final test is not about striving. It is about stewardship. You are learning how to carry peace, purpose, and authority at the same time. And that balance is what will sustain you long term. You are no longer surviving. You are stabilizing. And stability is the foundation of everything that comes next. A warning and a confirmation for the chosen one. Now listen to me carefully, because this part is spoken with love, but also with authority. Passing the final test does not mean you can move carelessly. It means you must move consciously. And this is where many chosen ones stumble, not because they are weak, but because they underestimate the shift they are in. The first warning is this: do not return to what God already brought you out of. Familiarity can feel comforting after long seasons of pressure, but comfort is not always alignment. Old habits, old mindsets, old emotional patterns may try to resurface now that the weight has lifted. Not because you belong there, but because your nervous system remembers them. Awareness is key. You are not regressing. You are being invited to choose differently with greater clarity. Another warning is subtle but important. Do not rush to explain yourself to people who did not walk with you through the test. You do not owe everyone access to your process. Oversharing after refinement can dilute wisdom. Let your consistency speak. Let your peace answer questions. Those who are meant to understand you will recognize you without explanation. You must also be careful not to confuse calm with complacency. Peace does not mean you stop growing. It means you grow without pressure. Stay disciplined. Stay prayerful. Stay grounded, not out of fear, but out of respect for what God entrusted to you. Maintenance matters more after breakthrough than before it. Now, here is a confirmation that many of you need, because it will explain some strange experiences you may already be having. After passing the final test, resistance often increases in subtle ways. People may project onto you. Some may feel threatened by your calm. Others may try to provoke you into old reactions. This is not a sign that something is wrong. It is confirmation that something has changed. Your assignment now is not to defend yourself, but to remain steady. The enemy no longer tries to break you through suffering. He tries to distract you through disruption, emotional reactions, unnecessary battles, draining conversations. Guard your peace fiercely. Peace is not passive. It is protected. Another warning is about impatience disguised as readiness. You may feel eager to move forward, to finally see results, to experience what was promised. That desire is natural. But do not let eagerness override discernment. God's timing did not suddenly become irrelevant because the test ended. Precision still matters. Alignment still matters. Trust still matters. Now let me give you a powerful confirmation, because this will anchor you. If you are hearing this message and something within you feels settled rather than excited, that is a sign of maturity. Immature faith needs constant stimulation. Mature faith rests in assurance. Do not mistake calm for lack of progress. Calm is evidence of trust. You are also entering a season where boundaries will be tested. People may want more access to you than before. Opportunities may demand more than they should. Learn to say no without guilt. You are not obligated to prove availability. Your value is not measured by how much you give. Stewardship includes rest. Another confirmation is this: God will no longer correct you the way He used to. Not because you are above correction, but because discernment has increased. You will feel conviction quickly. You will sense misalignment early. Listen to that. Do not override inner warnings to please others or to avoid discomfort. That inner check is protection. And let me be very clear here. Humility must remain your anchor. Authority without humility becomes pride. Confidence without surrender becomes control. You have been entrusted with stability because you stayed humble in pressure. Do not abandon humility in peace. Gratitude will keep you grounded. If you experience moments where you feel unseen again, do not panic. That does not mean you are back in testing. Sometimes God hides what He values to protect it from interference. Visibility will come when it is safe, not when it is demanded. The final confirmation I want to give you is this: you are not behind. You are not late. You are not missing anything. Everything you need for the next step will arrive when you are meant to take it. Do not measure your journey against others. Their timing is not your assignment. You passed the final test because you learned how to stay aligned without pressure. Now you must learn how to stay aligned with peace. That is a different kind of discipline, but you are ready for it. Move gently, move wisely, move without fear. God did not bring you this far to abandon you now. Conclusion: you are exactly where God wanted you. Now let me bring this home gently, because this message was never meant to stir you into anxiety. It was meant to settle you. If you are still here, listening, feeling calm rather than overwhelmed, then this message did what it was sent to do. Chosen one, you are not confused anymore. You are not lost. You are not being tested the way you were before. That chapter has closed. The silence had a purpose. The pressure had a reason. The waiting had meaning. And now you stand in a place of quiet assurance. Not because everything is visible yet, but because something inside you is finally stable. You do not need to chase signs. You do not need to prove faith. You do not need to explain your journey. God knows what He did in you. Heaven recorded your obedience when no one else saw it, and what God approves, He protects. Rest your mind. Calm your thoughts. Release the urge to rush ahead. You are not behind. You are aligned. What is meant to unfold next will unfold naturally, without force, without fear, without you losing yourself again. Carry this season with humility. Guard your peace. Stay prayerful, not out of desperation, but out of relationship. Let your life speak quietly. Let your presence carry authority without noise. And before you go, chosen ones, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, tap the bell icon, and share this message with other chosen ones who need this confirmation. And comment 777 in the comments as a seal that you receive this word and remain aligned with what God is doing in your life. You passed the final test. God saw you, God trusted you, and you are exactly where you are supposed to be.